The golden eagle drops from the sky like a missile, talons extended, eyes locked on a single target. A newborn ibex clinging to a cliff face so steep that even experienced climbers would need ropes. The mother ibex pivots instantly, her massive curved horns lowered in defense, her hooves planted impossibly on rock that seems to offer no grip at all. The eagle adjusts mid-dive, calculating angles, searching for an opening. For 3 heart-stopping seconds, the mountain holds its breath. Will the predator claim its prize, or will the prey defy death once more? This is not a story about luck. This is a story about evolution's most extreme masterpiece, the Alpine ibex, an animal that quite literally lives on the edge of existence. High above the cities and valleys of Europe, where the air grows so thin that human lungs gasp for oxygen, there exists a vertical kingdom that most creatures cannot even comprehend, much less inhabit. The Alps rise like stone teeth biting into the sky, creating a realm where the laws of physics become amplified, where a single misplaced step means certain death, and where winter arrives not as a season, but as an executioner. In this brutal landscape of rock, ice, and infinite drops, one species has achieved what seems impossible. They have made the impossible their home. The Alpine ibex doesn't just survive in these conditions, they thrive in them, spending their entire lives on cliff faces so precipitous that gravity itself becomes their primary adversary. But how did these remarkable creatures come to master such an unforgiving environment? And what secrets do they carry in their very bones about the price of survival? To understand the ibex is to understand a resurrection story that borders on miraculous. Just over a century ago, these magnificent animals teetered on the absolute brink of extinction, hunted relentlessly for their horns, meat, and the mistaken belief that their body parts held medicinal properties. By the early 1800s, the entire species had been reduced to a single population, approximately 100 individuals clinging to existence in Italy's Grand Paradiso National Park. 100 animals. That was all that stood between the Alpine ibex and permanent extinction. Think about that for a moment. Every single ibex alive today, whether they roam the peaks of Switzerland, Austria, France, or Slovenia, carries within their DNA the genetic echo of those 100 survivors. They're all descendants of a population so small that it created what scientists call a genetic bottleneck, a narrowing of diversity so severe that its effects ripple through generations. These animals survived not because they were lucky, but because they possessed something extraordinary, an adaptation so perfectly suited to their environment that even when reduced to a handful, they endured. Protected by Italian royal decree and later by conservation efforts, they slowly clawed their way back from the abyss, reintroduced across the Alps through careful management and human intervention. But that narrow escape from extinction left scars written into their very genetics, scars that would matter more than anyone could have imagined. Now let me take you to a specific moment in time, to a specific place high in the mountains where a 4,000-meter peak pierces the clouds. It's November, and the rut has begun, the annual breeding season when male ibex engage in battles that will determine not just dominance, but the very genetic future of their kind. Two massive males face each other on a slope so steep that standing upright requires constant muscle tension. These are not young animals testing their strength in playful sparring. These are mature bulls, each weighing over 100 kilograms, each bearing horns that curve backward in magnificent arcs, some exceeding a meter in length. They rise on their hind legs, impossibly balanced on that treacherous incline, and then crash down together with a sound like thunder. The impact of horn against horn echoes across the valley, a crack so loud it can be heard over a kilometer away. Again and again, they rear and collide, each blow powerful enough to shatter a human skull, yet absorbed by bone structures evolved specifically for this purpose. Blood trickles from small cuts above their eyes. Their breath comes in great steaming clouds in the freezing air. This is not entertainment. This is biology at its most raw and honest. Two animals competing for the right to pass their genes into the future. The battle lasts nearly an hour, each male exhausted, each refusing to yield, until finally one turns away, acknowledging defeat. The victor has earned his prize, access to the females, and the guarantee that his bloodline will continue. 9 months later, the consequences of this brutal contest will become evident. As summer returns to the high Alps and snow retreats to reveal fresh grass and wildflowers, a solitary female makes her way to an almost vertical cliff face. She is heavy with pregnancy, and instinct drives her to seek the most inaccessible terrain she can find. Why? Because in these mountains, safety exists only where predators cannot follow. Golden eagles patrol the skis with vision 8 times sharper than human eyesight, capable of spotting a vulnerable newborn from over 2 kilometers away. Foxes hunt the lower slopes, searching for easy meals. Even the occasional lynx may venture into Ibex territory. So the female climbs to a ledge barely wide enough for her body, a place where solid rock falls away on 3 sides into empty air, and there she gives birth. The newborn enters the world weighing just 2.5 kilograms, about the weight of a large chicken. Its eyes are open, its fur already grown in, because there is no time for helplessness at this altitude. Within 5 minutes of being born, with its mother's tongue still cleaning amniotic fluid from its coat, the baby Ibex struggles to its feet on legs that tremble like branches in a storm. Within 20 minutes, it takes its first wobbling steps. Within a day, it will climb. It has no choice. This cliff is both sanctuary and crucible, and those who cannot master it do not survive to see their second week of life. The next few weeks constitute what I call the first trial, nature's harshest entrance exam. The young Ibex must learn to trust hooves that seem impossibly small for the task before them. These aren't ordinary hooves. They're split into 2 toes that can spread apart independently, creating grip where none should exist. The outer edge is hard as steel, the inner pad soft and grippy like rubber, and the entire structure can flex and adjust to the tiniest irregularities in the rock surface. The young Ibex doesn't intellectually understand this engineering marvel. It simply follows its mother, imitating her movements, learning through repetition how to place each foot, how to distribute weight, how to read the rock beneath. A single mistake means falling hundreds of meters onto boulders below. There are no second chances at this altitude, and all the while, death watches from above. Golden eagles circle constantly, their incredible eyesight picking out the young, the weak, the isolated. When an eagle commits to an attack, it drops from the sky at speeds exceeding 240 kilometers per hour, talons outstretched, calculating trajectories with deadly precision. The eagle targets vulnerability, a kid separated from its mother, a moment of distraction, a less than vertical slope where the Ibex cannot use terrain as defense. Many attacks fail. The Ibex's agility and the broken nature of the cliff face create confusion for the predator. But enough attacks succeed to fill eagle nests with food and to teach young Ibex that the sky itself can kill. As summer fades into autumn and autumn surrenders to winter, the real test begins. Food vanishes beneath deepening snow. Temperatures plummet to -30 degrees Celsius. Winds scream across exposed ridges with enough force to knock an animal off balance. The Ibex respond by doing something that seems counterintuitive. They climb higher, moving above the snow line to windswept ridges where gales keep some rock faces exposed. Here, at altitudes where oxygen levels drop below 70% of sea level concentrations, they scrape at frozen lichen, nibble at the few hardy plants that survive in cracks, and slowly begin to starve. Their metabolism drops into a kind of controlled hibernation while still awake. They move as little as possible, burning precious calories only when absolutely necessary. Fat reserves built up during summer's abundance now spell the difference between survival and death. Watch an ibex in January and you'll see an animal transformed. Ribs showing beneath thick winter coat, eyes sunken, movements slow and deliberate. They look like they're losing, like winter is defeating them. And for many, it is. Avalanches sweep down without warning, burying entire groups beneath tons of snow. Sudden storms catch animals in exposed positions, and they freeze to death standing upright, turned into statues by ice. Starvation claims others, their bodies simply giving out after months of deprivation. By the time spring finally, mercifully returns, only half the young born the previous summer remain alive. Half. Let that sink in. Nature doesn't grade on a curve, and there are no participation trophies in the vertical world. Those that do survive carry the victory into their future. Years pass, and our young male, let's follow him specifically now, leaves his mother's side and joins a bachelor group of other males. Summer life in these all-male herds is almost idyllic compared to winter's brutality. Rich alpine meadows provide abundant grazing. The males engage in play fighting, learning the techniques they'll need in future serious combat, but without the stakes of actual competition. Horns grow longer each year, adding another ring that marks age like growth rings in a tree. Muscles develop and harden through constant climbing and sparring. Social hierarchies form based on size, age, and willingness to fight. But these hierarchies shift and flow without the finality of breeding season battles. The young male grows, learns, and prepares. By age 7, he weighs nearly 100 kilograms and carries impressive horns. But he's not yet dominant. The truly massive males, the 10 and 11-year-olds at their absolute peak, still push him aside during the rut. He breeds occasionally, but not with the frequency that signals true dominance. So he continues to grow, to fight, to survive. But survival itself is becoming more complicated. Those genetic scars from the near-extinction event a century ago continue to matter. With so little genetic diversity in the founding population, modern ibex populations carry higher risks of disease susceptibility and reduced adaptability. When domestic sheep and goats graze in alpine meadows during summer, they sometimes carry diseases that jump to wild ibex. Diseases against which these animals have little resistance due to their narrow genetic base. Outbreaks of pneumonia and other respiratory infections periodically sweep through herds, killing animals that survived eagles, avalanches, and starvation, only to be felled by microscopic invaders. And then there's climate change, perhaps the most insidious threat of all because it undermines the very rhythms that ibex evolution has tuned itself to over millennia. Spring arrives earlier, causing grass to green up before traditional ibex birth timing, meaning females give birth before peak nutrition becomes available. Winter storms grow more unpredictable in their timing and intensity. Glaciers retreat, altering migration routes used for generations. The ibex are masters of adaptation, but adaptation requires time, and climate change operates on timescales that evolution cannot match. Some ibex populations have developed another survival strategy that speaks to intelligence we're only beginning to understand: migration. Certain herds undertake journeys of dozens of kilometers across glaciers, over high passes, through valleys, following routes that young animals learn from their mothers and that have been used for generations. These aren't random wanderings. They're purposeful movements to specific seasonal ranges that offer optimal conditions. Other populations remain stubbornly faithful to their home ranges, never traveling more than a few kilometers their entire lives. Why do some migrate while others don't? Scientists still debate this question. It appears that tradition plays a role, knowledge passed down matrilineally from mother to daughter about where to go and when. But it also suggests that Ibex possess mental maps of their territory far more sophisticated than we've given them credit for. They remember routes, remember seasonal availability of resources, and make decisions based on that accumulated knowledge. And now, a new old player returns to the game. After being hunted to extinction across most of Europe by the early 1900s, wolves have begun to reclaim their former territories. They've recolonized the French Alps, crossed into Italy, appeared in Switzerland. For Ibex, this means confronting a predator their species hasn't faced in over a century. Yet their response is immediate and instinctual. They climb. Wolves are magnificent predators capable of incredible endurance and teamwork, but they cannot follow Ibex onto truly vertical terrain. The wolf targets what it can: the young, the sick, the old, the unlucky animal caught on gentle slopes. In doing so, the wolf reinforces the ancient selective pressure that made Ibex such extraordinary climbers in the first place. The presence of wolves doesn't threaten Ibex populations. It sharpens them, removes genetic weakness, and keeps the species honed to the edge of capability that defines their existence. A male Ibex reaches age 10, his absolute prime. His horns are massive, his body at peak muscle development, his experience extensive. When the rut arrives, he doesn't shy away from challenge. He faces the current dominant male in a battle that becomes legendary among those who witness it. The combat lasts over 2 hours, both animals exhausted beyond measure, both bleeding, both driven by instincts deeper than conscious thought. Finally, incredibly, our male wins. He claims dominance. He breeds with multiple females. He has reached the pinnacle of what an Ibex life can achieve, the fulfillment of a decade of preparation, survival, and struggle. But the mountain gives no guarantees. Spring arrives with its promise of renewal, but fate does not announce its intentions. Our male is feeding on a steep slope, reaching for fresh grass just beginning to emerge from receding snow when the mountain itself shifts. A rockfall, just a few boulders loosened by freeze-thaw cycles. Nothing dramatic, nothing unusual in these peaks, cascades down the slope. He tries to move, his incredible reflexes engaging instantly, but there's nowhere to go.
With each confident step, the cycle continues. A new generation.
The rocks strike him and he falls. Not from eagle talons, not from winter starvation, not from a rival's horns or a wolf's teeth, just from the mountain itself, the very element he mastered so completely. His body comes to rest on a boulder field far below, and the mountain continues its timeless existence, unchanged and uncaring. For 10 years, this Ibex did what few of his species manage. He survived everything the vertical world could throw at him. He climbed higher than most humans will ever stand without technical equipment. He endured winters that would kill any unprepared mammal within days. He fought and won battles of incredible violence. He bred and passed his genes, those precious genes that trace back to 100 survivors in Grand Paradiso, into the next generation. His daughters will give birth on cliff faces. His sons will grow massive horns and fight their own battles. The lineage continues, written in blood and stone, and the relentless arithmetic of natural selection. Mastery of your environment is not a destination, but a continuous process that demands everything you have and offers no guarantees. The Ibex is perfectly adapted to its world, better adapted than almost any creature to any environment. Yet it still loses 50% of its young each year. It still faces diseases, climate change, and random accidents that no amount of adaptation can prevent. Yet it persists. It doesn't give up because the odds are terrible. It doesn't refuse to breed because the future is uncertain. It does what life has always done. It tries, it fights, it adapts, and it continues, generation after generation, even when survival seems impossible. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about survival, adaptation, and the extraordinary capabilities hidden in nature's most extreme environments, please subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss stories that challenge how you see the natural world and your place within it. Share this with someone who needs to hear about the Ibex today, someone facing their own vertical world who needs to know that survival is possible even when it seems impossible.